All right. Hello, everyone, and now welcome to a game. This game is going to be between Rollex and KraV, taking place here on Tide Hunters version 1.2. Let's go ahead and get to the 2-minute mark of this Undead versus human matchup as Rollex spawns as the yellow human over here on the bottom right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, KraV spawning as, well, the blue Undead on the top left. It is going to be a Crypt Lord going up against an Archmage. Nothing too big of a surprise as we see a militia clearing of the Forest Troll and Rock Golem creep camp. Militia quickly making their way over to that Forest Troll High Priest, trying to take him down. This Water Elemental taking a little bit too much damage as well. The Militia now switching targets and trying to focus down all of those units. Alright, Archmage should easily get to level 2 here. Gonna go after this Rock Golem. Rolex not really focusing down this Rock Golem early on, but perhaps deciding to go after all of the targets that are not magic immune first, so that it will not get stolen, perhaps with a Death Coil, Frost Nova, or anything else from the Undead arsenal. Alright, Sea Turtle is going to get cleaned up here as well. Water Elemental going to get finished off. Meanwhile, we see an expansion attempt by KraV, taking down the 744 giant Sea Turtle, Gargantuan Sea Turtle creep camp, and getting to level 2 on this Crypt Lord. Alright, haunting of the gold mine before the early Ziggurat. That is a really important indicator of how well committed KraV is to try and set up this expansion. Behind this, Rolex gonna go ahead and perhaps set up an expansion here at the 3 o'clock location as well. Archmage is gonna be able to get to level 3 quickly too. Alright, so we're going to have some high-level, long economic gameplay between these two sides. Alright, both sides are not going to have enough real units out there on the battlefield to deal large amounts of damage to each other. They're investing in a lot of infrastructure, and we'll just need to wait for this town hall to be placed down. Yeah, there's that town hall by Rolex. And while Rolex is going to have plenty of gold to do its strategies. Now, KraV is going to benefit from having two very powerful consumable items. You got to be careful here. That Gargantuan Sea Turtle trying to clear out or get cleared out. Oh, this ghoul could get taken down. This ghoul perhaps going to get taken down next. Now going to go after this skeletal minion as well. That skeletal minion trying to rack up as much damage. Remember, the Gargantuan Sea Turtle actually, tries to attack different targets, and oh god, one ghoul down. KraV loses a ghoul unnecessarily, picks up a wand of mana stealing, and now there is that little bit of a heal as well. Alright, dual towers already up. One of them is a scout tower, so the lumber mill was already done. Meanwhile, KraV's haunted gold mine now completed as well. KraV very much able to get up this economic advantage. However, KraV does need to be mining back at home. There we are looking at dual Nerubian towers slowing things down. The low hit point ghouls, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna try and back away? They are switching onto different targets as well, as we're looking at more ghouls now retreating back home. Alright, more acolytes need to get trained up here. We can see one Nerubian tower here, 5 acolytes already training up, as now Rolex realizes, wait a second, I put pressure on the main base. It doesn't really mean that I have an advantage in terms of mining, as this expansion is not yet quite done. Guard tower gonna finish off that ghoul there. Staff of Teleportation, Archmage shows back up, drops another water elemental, and more pressure still placed down here, as KraV needs to get in even more acolytes if he wants to maintain this economic advantage. Both sides suffering heavy harassment, or excuse me, KraV suffering heavy harassment. Meanwhile, KraV is sitting at level 3 here. Are we going to perhaps use a Wand of Mana Stealing to try and get a little bit of mana out? We could have seen an Impale. No Impale. Archmage is still right there. We need to see that Wand of Mana Stealing actually be used, as the Acolyte down to dead falls there. Alright, meanwhile, the Nerubian Towers, I believe, took down that last there, as we're now looking at KraV, having pressure over here at the Expo. All right, nice 5 units surround to take down this Acolyte. Now, Acolyte is going to fall, perhaps now try to take down this Nerubian tower. No, looking to back away. Crypt Lord, well, going to have a little bit of problems. There's going to be a little bit of damage right there onto that Footman. Footman down to 129 hit points. Going to be 1 or 2 more shots until it is finished, and it is going to run straight into a creep camp here instead. Is it going to? Who's going to take it down? There it goes. So Crypt Lord does get the final kill there, as the Archmage is clearing out the creep camp off to the north with the help of an addition with that water elemental. All right, gonna be just shy of level 4, but that is gonna be a big deal indeed, as the Archmage will have level 2 Brilliance Aura here in just a moment. All right, Rollex sitting at, well, 2 bases. Not nearly fully saturated. Tech to Tier 2 has already started getting up some additional towers as well. So Rollex is playing a very strong, long economic game. Meanwhile, Crypt Lord needs to play a little bit of catch up as well. Archmage, not much he can really do off to the north here. Are going to summon up another water elemental and now perhaps try to go after these ghouls and other units. Archmage going to shut down that crypt there. And now, well, force a cancellation on that production. KraV down to 375 gold again, as both sides are still fighting their way through. Low hit point. Footman trying to back away. There's level 4 on the Archmage. Archmage now a little bit of additional damage, trying to back up again. Perhaps going to summon up another water elemental and continue to focus fire onto those lower hit point ghouls. Is going to be one more shot needed, but now going to go ahead and turn target again. So these units going to deal large amounts of damage. There goes another, no, Blight for the win right there, trying to go after the targets. There's going to be one ghoul down, another ghoul perhaps going to get taken down. Water elementals trying to make their way back off to the north, still putting in pressure. Archmage has overstayed his welcome, now being forced to back away, heads back home. 38 supply over 54, 1,400 gold in the bank. Tech to Tier 2 nearly done, and guard towers are getting upgraded nicely. No masonry upgrade. Meanwhile, KraV setting up his expansion here at the 3 o'clock spot. This expansion, Halls of the Dead, or this base, Halls of the Dead, now done. No Slaughterhouse. Death Knight now going to get trained up, as we are going into Crypt Fiends. So Crypt Fiend production, as the Crypt Lord now, well, just summoning up a whole bunch of bugs and Crypt Fiends out here on the battlefield to try and, well, take things down. We should be looking at a very fast tech to Tier 3. There we are. And we are getting up a Mountain King as that second hero, and also going into triple Griffin Aviary. So Rollex really playing an expensive game here. Perhaps going to try to go into a large number of Griffins and or Dragonhawk Riders with Animal War training once it becomes available. All right, so trying to win the game economically. KraV, if he, well, sees this coming from a far distance, he may perhaps try and just crank out more and more of these Crypt Fiends to try and web them down. If they do get webbed down, you better believe a transition into Knights will be in order, as a Death Coil saves a low hit point ghoul, who is now looking to back away again. All right, Archmage is dealing some big damage. This ghoul going to get taken down. There goes another ghoul there. There goes an Acolyte off on the side. Archmage is just trying to rack up damage all over the place, as, well, Acolytes are making their way from the main, or from the expansion, back over to the main base, since the Halls of the Dead is still upgrading. Meanwhile, back across here, some Acolytes are, well, running into a little bit of trouble. Archmage, or there goes one Footman there. Crypt Fiends are now making their way over. Crypt Lord has not really been landing those impales that I would have thought. Oh, and there was a fake impale cast onto the Archmage. Archmage forced to use that Scroll of Town Portal, didn't want to suffer the damage and perhaps have the Death Knight come over and land that last hit. Tech to Tier 3 nearly done here by KraV. Less than a minute left. Same thing for Rollex. Less than, well, it's going to be about 30 seconds, as the base has really opened up here at the main. All right, that Goblin Shredder really strip clearing out this forest. 800 gold. We're looking at flying machines, well, taking to the skies with some flak cannons as well, and still keep nearly done upgrading. All right, here we are, here we go. Archmage, well, putting pressure onto the Forest Troll Trapper. Mountain King, well, no real heals. Perhaps Paladin gonna be adding in as that third and final hero. Griffin Griffins getting trained up. Perhaps get that Warhammer training if you have enough lumber to do exactly that. And try to stay in no upkeep. 51 supply compared to 50, so slight economic advantage now for KraV after all this time, as Rollex is in, well, in a little bit of a tax nightmare. Are we going to see an Impale go down? There goes one footman. 49 supply now as the Death Knight, well, Water Elemental is getting cleaned up here. Crypt Lord and Death Knight working fairly strong together. We're going to see a carry-on beetle get cleaned up by the well, creeps, and we're still looking at more fighting here. All right, so damage getting well applied to Rolex's units here, and somehow KraV able to use that range very effectively. This is very old school Undead here. Crypt Fiends, Obsidian statues, and heroes, and now because of those Crypt Fiends, it's actually very scary to try and engage. One web, and then suddenly a 4 supply unit is stationary and stuck on the ground, easily taken down. We're looking at the Griffin still getting trained up, and are we getting Animal War training? Yes, Animal War training already done, as flying machines have taken to the skies with really nothing to show for it. We are not going into gargoyles. No gargoyles. Destroyers are definitely on the table here. Mountain King and Paladin working together to go after these enraged elementals. Remember, they do have heavy armor, so those two, the higher level units, actually very easy to take down. It's going to be the Griffins trying to go after those Reef Elementals in the back with that medium armor. Well, just a little bit more damage reduction there. All right, 67 supply compared to 66. All right, we're looking at one Griffin down. Another Griffin going to get taken down. Death Knight already at level 3. Crypt Lord now gets up to level 5. Lich needs to rejoin in on the fight here. Orb of Corruption, Scrolls of Healing, and these 2-0 upgrade Crypt Fiends looking to do large amounts of damage. Now, remember, the major problem before of this old school strategy is trying to deal damage to buildings. You can't really put pressure on buildings. You can put pressure onto the army, as we're looking at an Ultra of Kings quickly getting taken down. Death Knight, is he going to Death Coil? No. No, not quite. There's going to be a Stormbolt onto the Death Knight. Death Knight losing quite a bit of mana. There goes an Impale. And, well, followed by a whole bunch of webs, a Thunderclap there, Frost Nova going down, trying to go after all of these targets. Obsidian Statue trying to get away as well. Another big Thunderclap across the board, but another big Impale as well. Thunderclaps galore, and we're looking at, well, just damage trying to rack up all over the place. All right, bunch of Militia could get taken down here. Meanwhile, Crypt Lord sitting at level 5. Are we going to see some more damage? Frost Nova perhaps from the Lich, trying to finish off all of these targets. Invul Potion there. There goes an Impale. Level 2 now on the Lich. Level 2 now on the Paladin. Level 5 on the Archmage. And it is an absolute bloodbath here as the Paladin, well, uses that Divine Shield to try and stay alive. All right. So many flying machines, so useless at this point, as the Paladin now makes its way over to those Obsidian statues. One Obsidian statue down, 2 Obsidian statues down, as the Lich perhaps going to try to go after the Paladin. Does exactly that. Death Knight now sitting at level 4. We're going to see the Death Knight going to be in a little bit of trouble. Perhaps going to see a Death Coil onto the Mountain King. Mountain King needs to get away. Is he going to be able to get away? The Death Knight is right there. Goblin Zeppelin gonna bring it up here, and now we're still fighting here. All right, plenty of targets. Death Knight needs the Death Coil. That Crypt Fiend able to keep it alive a little while longer. Archmage is running with multiple water elementals, trying to go after target after target. Meanwhile, Goblin Zeppelin holding that Mountain King there. There's a Death Coil for the finish off once more. All right, no Obsidian statues, so the glue holding the Tri-Hero army together, not quite there. Triple water elementals, really a big play. A lot of threats pushing down as the unit's now trying to retreat back. All right, Crypt Lord right there. There's an Obsidian statue. All right, gonna see, oh, Impale. Mountain King falls. Lich, Death Coil, not in time. Archmage now trying to get away. Death Knight not gonna have enough mana, taking way too much damage as well. He's trying to head back down to 57 supply, and it looks like he'll be able to survive. All right, more water elementals going after these targets again. Obsidian statue, Lich back out onto the battlefield. Both sides fighting their way through, and they're going to regroup. 54 supply for Rollex compared to 61 for KraV, but it does feel like everyone is, well, low in terms of overall production or overall armies until they get regrouped and regathered. All right, a lot happened in that battle. What didn't happen, though, is that Mountain King did not level up. Mountain King still sitting at level 2 right now. Paladin needs to... Well, are we going to see an Altar of Kings get placed down anywhere? There's that Altar of Kings now getting placed down. Remember, there was a lost time in Resurrection, and now things could go sideways very quickly. Death Knight could try to land a Death Coil. No, perhaps just going to go after these towers and shut things down here. One tower already down. Lich relatively low on mana. Obsidian statues hanging in the back. These guard towers are falling very quickly. And now it is going to be up to Rollex to figure out a way to deal with this Crypt Fiend army. KraV, perhaps knowing that Rollex likes to go for these griffins. We're going to see a couple of webs now, and that's just flying machines getting webbed down, but those are now on cooldown. Oh, that was tactical. That was tactical. While the Crypt Fiends are now on cooldown on that web, the flying machine, the griffins are able to attack and just dive in onto those obsidian statues. You can see both obsidian statues gone in an instant. Goblin Shredder joining in on the fight, and what a beautiful tactic to use the cooldown of the Crypt Fiend's web so that you can get enough griffins to actually go after targets. I had not thought of that. Paladin getting resurrected at level 2 as well. And wow, KraV needing to now rebound, losing a good 12 to 15 supply of units in just a moment. However, hero level advantage still in favor for KraV. You can see 5-4-3 going up against 5-3-2. That level 2 Death Coil is a very big deal, a 400 burst heal compared to a 200. But the Archmage is nearing level 6, and we do have one Staff of Sanctuary. Perhaps a second Staff of Sanctuary will get thrown into the mix as well. Beetles trying to make their way over. Knights are out here on the battlefield. Or Knights making their way onto the battlefield. One flying machine. One flying machine? Or there should... No flying machine there. Alright, I thought there was a flying machine to gain sight of that burrowed unit. There's plenty of griffins in the air. Knights do not have the Sundering Blades to deal bonus damage against those Crypt Fiends, though. But at this point, does it matter, as the Knights are going straight after the Nerubi, or going to go after different targets. All right, there goes one Acolyte. Level 6 now onto the Archmage. That could be a big deal. All right, there goes an Impale. Now trying to finish off some units. There goes a Thunderclap. Level 2 Thunderclap trying to chip away at the hit points of those Crypt Fiends. One Crypt Fiend. Scroll of Healing, not enough. Banshees are now out. Banshees perhaps needing anti-magic shell. Paladin falls at level 2 already. Now Lich could be in trouble. Down to 85. Down to dead. Trying to get away, but a little bit too slow as the Banshee's anti-magic shell, not enough. Crypt Fiend's going to be going after more of these Griffins, and now we see level 6 on the Crypt Lord. So level 6 Crypt Lord, Archmage now trying to get away. More battling it here, battling it up. Low hit point Crypt Fiend able to back up again. All right, 3,000 gold. 2,700 gold, 3,400 gold right there. Nearly mined out here. Staff of Sanctuary on that Griffin Rider. He will live to fight another day. It is Curse. So a chance to miss the attacks right there. Ring of Superiority, Death Knight, now venturing to get to level 5. Level 5, nearly on the table. Meanwhile, Lich getting resurrected at level 3 does take, what will take another minute more. Death Knight getting to level 5 here, and now going after this Null Warden. All right, still 2 or 3 major creep camps left on the map for the Lich to try and clear out. Hero level advantage still in favor for KraV, definitely. And we're looking at that Staff of Sanctuary, 2 Staff of Sanctuaries between the 3 heroes now to try and rotate and keep this army alive and fresh without giving too many hit points. All right. Obsidian statues have a giant bullseye target on them right now from those griffins. Remember, dealing nearly, I believe it's 100% damage. So one flock, I guess a flock of Griffin Riders can one-shot an obsidian statue, even with that armor. So, or because of that armor, I should say. As we're now looking at stat mass teleport inbound here, going straight after the haunted gold mine. All right. All of this is going to get taken down really quickly. We're going to see a couple of webs. There goes a thunderclap. And now we're going to see a tactical retreat back out. Acolytes getting destroyed one at a time. Wow. 4 out of the 5 acolytes simply taken out by griffins and a thunderclap with a mass teleport as the tactical retreat. Rinse and repeat over and over and over. The Griffin Riders 3-0 upgraded, going up against 2-2. And are we just going to have this be a battle of attrition? The Archmage's tactical ability, that high movement speed, being everywhere you want to be, gonna play, make some big plays. However, well, hero levels do matter. Well, it could... Well, Archmage, where is he teleporting to? Teleporting, finding another back door here. Acolytes all cleaned up. There goes all of them again. And KraV is going to stop mining at both his main base and at his natural, as this is all lost here. All right. Goblin Shredder has taken quite a bit of damage. The Staff of Sanctuary should be able to, go ahead and easily save that there since he cannot get healed. He is sent back home. And what is KraV doing behind this? KraV says, you know what? Maybe I can get away with my standing army, as we're looking at the Lich nearing level 4. Are we going to see an Impale? Are we going to see an Impale? No, Stormbolt onto the Crypt Lord before the Impale could go down. All right. Important to note that the Archmage also had a Scroll of Town portal as well. I believe he actually used the Scroll of Town portal in order to get away. The mass teleport was on cooldown there, so Rollex using all of the tricks in order to keep his army alive. Remember, 800 hit points is a lot until you're going up against a level 3 Crypt Lord, a level 3 Death Knight, and a level 3 Lich, which we are. There is again, surprise, not surprised, as the mass teleport now, well, lands straight into this haunted gold mine and all of these buildings here. All right, what are you gonna do? Well, you're gonna go ahead and try and turn this into a base race scenario. Banshees, do they have mastery training? No, they are still at Adept. No mastery training in available, so you're not gonna be able to possess those knights. Ghouls going after those Spellbreakers. This is actually an interesting fight there. 11 to 13 damage going up against 16 to 24. And now we're going to see a mass teleport inbound here. All right, let's go into an engagement. There goes an Impale. Couple of Crypt Fiends webbing down those, webbing down those Griffin Riders. We see Locust Swarm, Locust Swarm now online here, eating away at all of these units again. So the Crypt Lord is just chipping away large amounts of hit points, trying to finish things off. Are we going to see another? There goes another Knight getting taken down. Another Griffin Rider going to get taken down. 53 supply compared to 61. KraV does have the larger army, and he's still chipping away here. All right, level 4 now on the Lich. And this is an interesting spot. The Lich, as this game goes on, he ends up going from just a Frost Nova machine into a Death and Decay machine. The Death and Decay is exactly what the Doctor needs in order to finish off buildings. Now, Death Knight, Crypt Lord trying to walk all the way back home. The Black Citadel going to get taken down, and we are now in a base race scenario. All right. Rollex still mining a little bit of gold. There's a Goblin Shredder getting, got Staff of Sanctuary back home. Each and every little building making a drastic difference here as the Crypt Fiends now making their way back out. Archmage says, you know what, I don't need to be here. Let me just go after these targets. Let me go after these units again. The Carrion Beetle scampering away. Doesn't want any part of this fight here. I believe there is a beetle right there hiding. Flying Machine is going to quickly reveal that, take it down. Paladin, however, still only sitting at 3.1. All right. Burrowed Carrion Beetle. Mountain King. Are they going to go after the targets? No, they are not. All right, Necropolis. KraV summoning up. What do you do in this situation? Right? You are upside down on supply tremendously, 61/0, right? You cannot, you don't have that many acolytes. We are looking at a flying machine about to get webbed down pretty easily. There it goes. Meanwhile, Crypt Lord, Lich, Death Knight trying to finish off the remainder of a creep camp on the top left-hand side of the map. That is not going to give level 5 to the Lich unless perhaps you go after this one red creep camp here. The moss-colored stone golem, however, could be a problem. Archmage, plenty of mana. Paladin, maxed out on mana. Mountain King, maxed out on mana. Level 2 Brilliance Aura doing its thing. Meanwhile, all of these guys still continue to get cleaned up, trying to get every little bit of gold out from the map as much as possible. Some giant sea turtles and some other units here still. No one really throwing in the towel yet. Gold mine here has 190. No more mining here. 1,200 and 2,200. So a vast difference there as Rollex now looking to take the southern spot. All right. Moss-colored granite golem. All right, we're going to see Mountain King up in that front line spot. Paladin needs to come in from behind as well. We're going to see some big damage from those Griffin Riders going straight after those Sea Giant Hunters and finishing them off quickly. Now only the moss-colored granite golem is left. And, well, Death Knight, Lich, could find the Archmage. This could be trouble. This could be trouble. Archmage trying to get away. Are we going to see a Frost Nova? No, no Frost Nova, no Death Coil, no initial burst that I was originally expecting. I totally expected an initial burst of damage onto those units. We didn't see that at all. Flying Machine keeping track of the north here. We're seeing a little bit of gold still being mined on the southern spot. Rollex now taking up a third base here in the southern position. And KraV's major resource is just gonna be mana. Mana with obsidian statues. He needs to somehow try and keep this all alive, keep it together. As the Crypt Lord comes in here, are we going to see... Well, there's going to be a Storm Bolt. That's going to get absorbed pretty quickly. And now an anti-magic shell is gone. There goes an Impale. Mountain King could be in trouble. There goes one obsidian statue. Are we going to see more obsidian statues fall? Paladin, well, Banshee's getting cleaned up as well. There goes another obsidian statue going after the glue that holds everything together, as we're still looking at perhaps a couple of other units getting taken down here. All right. Economic advantage could be lost as Rollex, well, gonna lose this town hall. There goes a Frost Nova, and, well, Crypt Lord does have a Scroll of Town Portal. Oh, this is the Necropolis. The Necropolis was summoned as a way to be able to leave home and then defend if necessary. Crypt Lord continuing the fight. There's going to be some more damage here. There's going to be another Griffin Rider taken down. Mountain King, Thunderclap completely surrounded. And are we looking at, oh, burrowed Crypt Fiends. No more flying machines, so burrowed Crypt Fiends. There's a Death Coil. Are we going to see another burrow? There goes another Thunderclap. Stay alive. There goes the Goblin Shredder, level 5 now on the Lich. Level 5 Lich is going to be some big damage indeed. Perhaps, oh, mass teleportation trying to get away. Paladin gets away just in time. All right, Paladin was about to get blasted. Paladin now with the Scroll of Town Portal. Well, we're trying to see some heals get underway here. Remember, there are no priests. So Scrolls of Regeneration are going to be incredibly important. There was... well, was that a... Oh! Rollex Staff of Sanctuary to his knight. And instead of going to the closest town hall, it got teleported here. Oh, what? I did not... This was built first. I have no idea why that knight went to the other town hall. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. If one knight being the difference, 34 supply compared to 30 supply now, as units are getting lost left and right. All right, 343. Are we going to see an Acolyte? Oh, Acolyte try to mine here, and KraV is going to, well, have a very long time to, well, sit back here and figure out what's going to happen before that building gets summoned up. All right, Beetle's going to get, oh, Beetle's going to burrow. Any flying machines? No, no flying, nope, there's a flying machine. All right, Peasant now making its way down. Perhaps it's going to try and do some long-distance mining as well. This is some strange circumstances. Let's go ahead and, well, see how things go here. Yeah, 2 times speed. Both sides not really engaging yet. There goes an expansion attempt off to the north. That is going to be huge if that gets operational. Spellbreaker down here on the south. And now a fight at the main base of KraV. KraV going to be forced to try and make its way down. But remember, this could be backdoored here. There is a Spellbreaker already lining up to try and summon here. And the Spellbreaker, well, doesn't have to worry about any of those Banshees. All right, so Archmage is fighting here. Spellbreaker can get some easy damage. There's that mass teleport. Haunted gold mine most likely will need to get canceled. You do not want to get that. You do not want to lose any of that gold. There's a thunderclap there. And are we going to see... no, there's just a quick cancellation. Stormbolt onto the Acolyte. Acolyte quickly taken down. Another Archmage. Archmage could be in trouble. Impale. No, Staff of Sanctuary for the save. And now units are trying to make their way back out. No more mass teleport, though. That was a huge problem. That Archmage could have been taken down. Now it's going to be the Mountain King. Mountain King trying to stay alive here. There's a Holy Light, but no. Level 6 now on the Death Knight. Level 7 now on the Crypt Lord. And the Lich sitting at level 5. Perhaps wanting to land a Frost Nova onto that Paladin to slow things down. Units trying to catch up. Unholy Aura, level 2. Are we even going to see Animate Dead? Yeah, level 2 Unholy Aura. They could use a little bit faster movement speed as the Crypt Lord is just trying to get and land in this position. All right, Archmage is alive and available here. We're going to see an Impale. We're going to see a Death Coil. There's a Holy Light right there. And the unit Archmage is just trying to head back now. Banshee tries to get in front. Is it going to cause problems? Archmage, Death Coil. No, Holy Light able to stay alive again. Banshee gets finished off here. Arcane Towers diving in here. Death Knight may have overcommitted. Death Knight definitely overcommitted. Stuck behind a corner. Scroll of Town Portal. Tactical retreat back out. And now the Archmage, well, gonna just fight his way through here. 23 supply compared to 34. Scroll of Town Portal saves the Death Knight. But what now? What now? What can you really do at this point and stage in the game? Both sides trying to figure out a decent strategy as the Mountain King now getting resurrected. All right, Mountain King getting resurrected here. This is going to be some time. Archmage, Paladin holding back 4 times speed. Just Holy Light going to try and engage again. Archmage does have a Scroll of Town Portal, Staff of Sanctuary, and here we are into a battle. Paladin. Another Frost Nova goes down. Death Coil onto the Paladin. Mass Teleport. Teleports to try to finish off buildings here. All right. Acolyte. Is he going to be able to summon up anything? He needs Blight. He doesn't have any Blight anywhere. All right. So KraV building about to get taken down. Banshee's trying to finish off the Altar of Kings. I believe the Altar of Kings is not going to be able to resurrect that Mountain King. Meanwhile, we see Rollex is mining gold there. Archmage going after the buildings, and we can see, oh, Necropolis is being built off to the south. So there isn't a chance as we see a Divine Shield now go down onto that Paladin. Mass Teleport getting away again. Oh, there goes an Impale. There's going to be a little bit of damage. There's a Holy Light, though. Banshee gets taken down as the heroes are trying to go after these targets once more. All right. What are you going to try and burst down? That is the question. Spellbreakers are spell immune, so it is only going to be the heroes that are going to be taking the majority of the damage. Death Knight, Paladin double backing around, doesn't have a Divine Shield anymore. Burrow on that Crypt Fiend. Death Coil, Frost Nova, Staff of Sanctuary. Archmage saves it. Barely. Where did it go? Where? Oh, went off to the north. All right, so, yeah. Apparently, Staff of Sanctuaries don't send to this town hall for some reason. All right, Necropolis about to get taken down here. Beetles, all of these other targets. Archmage going after. There goes another Banshee again. Altar of Kings, 30 more seconds to get resurrected. There goes an Impale. Archmage could be in trouble. Archmage down to 127 hit points. Gonna scroll Town Portal. Lich needs to get within range. Death Knight needs to get within range. Death Knight, Death Coil finishes off the Archmage. Archmage now down. Mountain King could get taken down. And with this is now a brand new game. KraV with 3 heroes and a 30 supply army going up against Rolex's 18 over 66. Paladin is back out, ready for action. More peasants should be mining gold at that gold mine. Not quite sure why they are not. Every bit of gold can make a drastic difference here. Paladin gonna try and resurrect from the tavern, perhaps, the Mountain King or the Archmage. No, resurrects the Archmage. Now, perhaps they're going to try and sell some items. There goes the Crypt Fiend there. More peasants going to get trained up here. There's only, well, there's these 3 buildings here and another building down to the south. No additional mining happening. All right. Workshop about to get taken down here. You can see Crypt Fiend, well, burrowed and going to be able to stay alive. Death Knight heading back off to the north here. We do not see an Altar of Kings getting resurrected. Lich gonna go after some peasants. These peasants, well, gonna get taken down pretty easily. 30 supply over 20 as Rolex's options are starting to run out. There goes a quick reveal to take down another Crypt Fiend. Archmage, however, still sitting at level 6, and Rolex must believe that these are the last couple of buildings. He does not know that there are more buildings left out there on the map now, as Spellbreakers are still running around. Acolyte trying to hide off to the side here. KraV has the much larger, much more powerful army. He just has less hit points on buildings, and that could be all the difference. All right, Spellbreaker's trying to get away. Spellbreaker's getting damage onto some of those units. Spellbreaker's trying to retreat back here. Is there enough magic immune units to take down all of these buildings? That is the question now, as the Archmage summons up another water elemental. All right, Beetles, Crypt Fiends fighting their way through. Let's take a look. Death Knight, Anti-Magic Cell, Spellbreaker trying to make its way back. Spellbreaker continuing to chip away at hit points here as the Spellbreaker, well, has to be careful. There's a Staff of Sanctuary saving that Spellbreaker, and now a mass teleport, perhaps going to go ahead and retreat back over here. We're going to see some Holy Lights, going to see some saves, some additional hit points. Paladin could perhaps try and finish off a couple of additional targets. There's a Crypt Fiend there, but that Crypt Fiend perhaps doesn't want to be anywhere near this battle, as a Water Elemental going to finish off this Necropolis here. All right, finishing off the Necropolis, incredibly important. That way you know if your opponent, you are going to be revealed on the map anywhere. There goes another Beetle again. 22 supply compared to 27. 40 minutes into this game, and still no clear winner as of yet. Archmage has more hit points on these buildings. These towers are going to be very problematic to try and shut down. Spellbreakers, this is one of those instances where if you just had invisibility, you could move a Spellbreaker anywhere, mass teleport there, and then teleport back and just rinse and repeat that strategy over and over. These guard towers are going to be too big of a problem to try and overcome, and there's just so many hit points out here. All right, so I guess in terms of Staff of Sanctuary, it is your main base or your highest base first, and then after your highest base is taken down, it's the next base that is summoned, right? So this one would now get Staff of Sanctuary back because it's the only one left, but any additional ones that you're built afterwards, changing that. I believe that was a change. I don't know. I don't believe that's how it worked in the non-reforged version of the game. As we are now looking, the Spellbreaker does find that there is another Necropolis here, and now the Archmage realizes, wait a second, there's a lot more hit points on buildings than I was aware of. All right, he needs to figure out a way to try and take those down now. as we're looking at anti-magic shell go down here. Spellbreaker trying to finish off the Acolyte. The Acolyte, oh, Spellbreaker somehow breaking a 6-7 unit surround, and now wandering back again. Mass teleport back off to the north. That's a rather small army going to try and go after this Altar of Darkness, and these summon a couple of buildings here. This is the last building left by KraV. It may be a death by building destruction, and that appears to be the case here. This Spellbreaker trying to retreat away, just trying to buy a little bit of time, but and now going to be able to squeeze back through here. And, well, what is he going to do next? All right, squeeze back through here. Only the Crypt Fiends, they're going to be able to deal that damage again. This Crypt down here about to fall. Archmage's mass teleport back. Cooldown is now completed. And, well, trying to play a game of chase with a Spellbreaker. Well, definitely causing problems there. Couple of water elementals. Well, finishing off this last Crypt, that will get taken out. And now we see a Banshee and an Acolyte standing next to a Necropolis, wondering what can possibly be done. The Death Knight. Oh, what would have been funny is if actually Death or Animate Dead became the big deal. There goes there goes an Impale. Right, trying to fight back the other way. Crypt Fiends are back on Blight. Archmage is trying to put in pressure. Oh my gosh, is Rollex going to end up throwing away this game? There's a mass teleport trying to get away. Down to 200, down to 100, down to 115. And ends up staying alive ever so barely. All right, a couple of beetles chipping away at the hit points of the Griffin Aviaries. And what are they going to try and do next? Archmage still, well, doesn't have that many hit points. There goes a beetle there. Water Elemental hanging back. There is another burrowing of the beetle. The Paladin only sitting at level 4. Doesn't have enough experience to really get to level 5, and now trying to back away. There's a Staff of Sanctuary to save that Paladin. Paladin going to be getting an additional bit of hit points, and now mana as well. Archmage could have a giant target on its back as the Paladin is kind of asleep. All right, Paladin is asleep. Sitting there, 700 hit points. Has no way of really healing. Both sides still fighting their way through. Archmage going to drop perhaps some more water elementals. Paladin, is he going to wake up? Trying to keep the damage on that Paladin long enough as the Paladin needs a little bit more time to wake up. Is he going to wake up? No, the Lich is purposely attacking the Paladin so the Paladin cannot wake up, and Rollex is going to lose his Archmage. The Lich recognizing the Paladin and the Burst Heal, the big difference there, but the Death Knight now going to get body blocked again. Body blocked by water elementals. Archmage, all right, Paladin, is he still okay? No, he is still Staff of Sanctuary. Body blocking with all of the towers. Oh my gosh. Body blocking kills the Death Knight. Crypt Lord would have continued to take a little bit more damage. Perhaps follow up Holy Lights from the Paladin, and that would have been too much. The Necropolis here still standing, but the army of KraV just getting stuck. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below.